My name is Jenny. I'm a part of the education team at Medit. Nice to meet you, everyone. Today, we're so pleased to have Dr. Ahmad after so long. How have you been, doctor?
Hey guys, how you doing? I've been very well, thank you, Jenny. How are you?
I'm very good, trying to adjust here. Okay, so today, Dr. Ahmad is gonna give us a lecture about everything you need to know when you're doing digital dentistry. So can you tell us some contents that you're gonna discuss with us today?
Yeah, for sure, Jenny. I mean, actually, I just finished a long day at work today, and I used a lot of digital dentistry. So I'm reflecting on, how much of an impact it's made on my practice because I'm still a full-time private practitioner. And in this webinar, really, I just wanted to give a complete overview. Everything from scanning, the pros and cons, the advantages over analog techniques, and also looking into, CAD/CAM, the Medit apps, printing, and everything I use in my practice and how it's changed my practice.
It will be really covering whole part of the digital dentistry for today's lecture.
I hope so.
Yep. So before we begin, there is an announcement that we have released ClinicCAD application, which is beta version. So simply go to the middle link and download in the app box. It's free, so you can do the work of crown, cupping, bridge, cervical inlay, veneer, etc. All the work can be done in your clinic. So you can try it out. And for the guidance video, we have uploaded our YouTube channel. So we are going to have Q&A session right after the lecture is done. So we've already collected all the questions via email in advance. So we will cover those questions today. And while watching the webinar, you might have some questions. Then simply go to the chat box and write down. Then we reply back with your registered email. And for further questions or feedback, please give us an email to meditedu@medit.com. And for more clinical videos, or if you want to watch the previous webinar, please visit our YouTube channel, meditacademy.com. And we also have an official training platform, which is academy.medit.com. So we have listed the videos according to the curriculums, and you can obtain the texted files. And amazing thing is that it's all for free. So you can utilize our Medit platform to enhance your knowledge regarding digital dentistry. So that's all about it. So you can start now, doctor.
Sure. You can hear me nice and clearly, no problem?
Yeah, it's very clear and nice. So I will shut my camera off now, so you can start now.
Perfect. All right, so let's make a start. Today's webinar is why bother with digital dentistry? Everything you need to know. And as I was mentioning to Jenny, as I reflect about digital dentistry and our journey, it really makes me think, how different we practice now than what we did 10 years ago. And really what I wanted to encompass in this webinar is everything you really need to know for those who want to adopt digital dentistry, because although it's a big hype topic and everyone's talking about scanners and printers, the reality is we're still not even close to 50% market penetration in most regions in the world. The United States leads around 30, 40%, but where I am from here in New Zealand, it's closer to 10, 15, 20%. So there's still a lot of people on the fence wondering, should they do this? So before we jump in, a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Ahmad Al-Hassani. I'm the director of the Institute of Digital Dentistry and a full-time private practitioner. I graduated from the University of Otago here in New Zealand. And on the right there is my father and my brother, who are also dentists. And we have a family business where we own and operate around 33 dental chairs around Wellington, New Zealand. So it's quite a big operation. But of course, we didn't start like that. We started with a single chair. And over the years, we've just grown the business. And a key part of our success, I strongly believe, was digital dentistry. My father is an amazing clinician, and he's probably one of the earliest adopters of digital in the country. So we got involved in CAD/CAM over 20 years ago, and now it's just a key part of everything we do. Above the text there, you can see a picture of our lab, and many of you will know through IDD and all the reviews that I publish that we basically use every scanner, every CAD software, every printer almost on the market these days, and a whole lot of different mills. And it's just really, it's changed practice for us. So really the question is, why did we make the change? When my father was first getting into digital dentistry, this was the two options. It was E4D, a scanner that was, very rudimentary compared to what we have now. And now E4D is basically Plan Mecca. And we also had CEREC Blue Cam or Red Cam back in those days. Now, the interesting thing is that, these were very hard devices to use compared to what we have now. They were, monochrome, basically black and white cameras. A lot of them were single shoot cameras, meaning you had to click the scanner button every time you wanted to take a single photo and stitch those together. So you would be stitching, 10, 15, 20 images. And that's just crazy compared to, the scanners we have now that take hundreds of images per minute. But even then, why did we make that change, even back in those days? Because back then, CAD/CAM was a struggle. Primitive technology, as I mentioned, limited training courses and a lack of support. There was no Medit Academy. There was no IDD online with our education platform. There was no one, and you really had to learn by yourself how to use this technology. And the learning curve was steep. It was much harder than it is now. The pictures on the right, there are fond pictures for me. On the top right there is actually my father's first clinic, and you can see me next to him on the left, and my brother actually on the right, and that's a cousin that's in the dental chair there. And on the bottom there is the first scanner we ever got, and we still have that in storage somewhere. And I joke with my father, we should probably make a scanner museum someday. But since those days, we've purchased multiple CAD/CAM systems, and it's basically a key part of everything we do. I just finished a busy day in the clinic today, and as I reflect, I've used scanners basically for 50% of my patients, whether it was scanning for orthodontics, scanning for crowns, implant restorations. It's there and it's used for everything. So a lot of you who are on the fence will have the same concerns that we had many years ago, and that's return on investment. Is it hard to learn? Is it worth the cost? You think about things like, is it even accurate? Why change if things are working fine as they are now? And obviously, I think all of us appreciate that the digital revolution is here. You can see it all around you as you walk through expos, as you talk with your colleagues, as you look on Facebook groups. Everyone's talking about digital, and it is the big wave in dentistry at the moment. So from those humble beginnings with those two scanners, these days we basically use every single scanner in my practice, and I've used every scanner. This picture was taken last year in the practice, and it's not even an exhausted list because there's some missing there, such as i600, such as Dexus 3800 wireless. And the reality is that every single scanner has its own pros and cons. Regardless of which scanner you choose, I think you just have to make the jump. And the reason being is that a scanner opens up a world of possibilities for you. You can't use so much technology these days without a scanner, such as Mojo jaw motion capture, such as a lot of AI tools, such as all the different CAD tools that are available to us today. And so whichever way you go, I think the first step is key, and that is picking the right scanner for your practice. And that's why I've been publishing all these reviews about different scanners to help guide you guys on how to pick the right technology for your practice. Now, in January 2019, it was it's quite an important date for me because this was actually our first Medit scanner. This was the i500. We had one of the first i500s in the country here in New Zealand. And obviously, since then, we've just seen Medit absolutely steamroll the market in a way. What they've achieved in the past few years is quite incredible. And since then, they've released the i700 wireless, i700, i600, and obviously their i500 is still available in some regions, but frankly, it is basically being phased out because if you can buy the i600 in your region, that should be your go-to choice if you're looking for a budget or economic Medit scanner. Now, why digital? It's a question that comes up a lot these days, less than before, because I think we all appreciate the many advantages of digital dentistry. But this is a simple video I love to show in my presentations because I think it just sums it up nicely. The reality is impressions are not fun, guys. I don't know many dentists who like taking them. I don't know many patients who like having them done. And we spend so much time on the chair, on our businesses, with communication skills and creating a really good experience that oftentimes the appointment ends like that. And frankly, there's just a better way these days. This is an example of a i700 Medit i700 scan. And as you can see, the scans are just much faster. It's easier to do. There's no messing around with impression material. There's no gagging. If you gag a patient with a scanner, you're doing something seriously wrong. And there's just so many advantages nowadays of using a scanner over impression material. And frankly, this summarizes it, the speed, the comfort, but there's also some real key factors such as patient education. You can engage the patient with these scanners because they can, see the scans. You can have them either on a TV in your practice, which many clinicians do, or simply just have it on a laptop and show the patient after you've taken the scan. And the wow factor is incredible. These days it's getting harder and harder. It's more competitive than ever before to be a dentist, and you really need to set yourself apart from the competition. And the easiest way to do that is technology. One interesting thing to me is when I show my patients scans, one of the most incredible thing for them is the color. That's what they comment on most commonly, is that, wow, that thing is in color, and it blows their mind. And also it's easy to modify and store. There's no more stone models everywhere, dealing with impression material which you can't modify. When you take an impression, you just pray that there's no air bubbles, because if there is, you're redoing it. So there's just endless benefits. Now, how do you take a digital impression? Frankly, these days, compared to what we went through when we first got a scanner, it's very simple. There's a lot of AI now in scanners that help to make the scan very simple, very easy to do. And you simply just put the scanner into the patient's mouth, start the scanner button, and then you move the scanner across the areas you want to scan. And in my opinion, the best way to scan is to keep your eye on the screen or the laptop. Rather than watching the mouth, you should be watching the screen itself to see what actual data you're capturing, because this enables you to stop the scanner if you need to and catch things early. The beautiful thing about scanners is that they can be stopped and started anytime. So if you notice anything, a bit of blood on the margin, you can stop it, clean the area, control the area, and then rescan that area, rather than dealing with impression material where you have to redo the whole thing. And this is a simple diagram showing you step-by-step scanning. Oftentimes you start on the occlusal. Let's say for a crown preparation, you would start on the occlusal distal to the crown preparation, and then you would move mesially. And if you're doing a full arch scan, you would move all the way to the contralateral side. If you're doing just a quadrant scan, you would stop near the canines or incisors, and then you rotate the scanner buccally and lingually. And essentially that's how you do a scan. When you rotate buccally, you go back to where you started, you rotate lingually, and you come back again. And I've got a video to demonstrate that. This is a full arch scan in a nutshell. So you started on the occlusal aspect, you rotate buccally or lingually, which one you choose doesn't really matter, and then you go all the way around. And when you get good at doing this, you can easily take a full arch scan within 60 seconds using modern scanners. This shouldn't be something that takes 5 minutes or more. And here's another video here. This shows a quadrant scan, occlusal first, rotate, rotate. And oftentimes when I'm taking these scans, it is only then I would go back and fill the areas of the contacts, as you can see here. And going perpendicularly, as you can see, is a great way to fill those contact areas. And it really is that simple, guys. Now, why the digital workflow? And it's quite self-explanatory why these days, but it's just more efficient. Not only is the scan faster than an impression for most experienced clinicians, and you can be experienced too with a bit of practice, but also the dialogue with the lab is a lot faster. Sending a scan to your lab is like sending an email. It is so fast and quick these days, and they can immediately get the file and start working on it. Compare that to impression, pouring up the impression, disinfecting it, sending it to lab. And these days in a, COVID era, or let's say post-pandemic era, I think cross-infection and disinfection is more important than ever before. And minimizing this handling of impression material, I think, is critical. The American Dental Association did a survey for their members, and they got a few hundred responses, and they asked their members, do you use an intraoral scanner? 53% said yes, which I think is a little high, but without a doubt, the Americans lead market penetration of scanners. I think it's closer to 40%. But what's really interesting is that 91% said they're satisfied with iOS. And what this really indicates to me is it's a proven technology. People are happy, they're using it, and really it is the way forward. I myself, with a team of excellent dentists in Hungary, we actually did a survey ourselves through our IDD community and posting on various groups and social media. And this has been published in the International Dental Journal just recently, a few months ago. And for anyone who wants to access this, you can see the QR code on the bottom right-hand side. If you just scan that QR code, you will get free access to this study. But I wanted to share a few things with you that I found in our study about the user experience of intraoral scanners. And so we surveyed over 1,000 dentists. We got 1,000 responses, which was massive, and it's probably one of the largest surveys ever conducted on intraoral scanners. And we got responses basically from everywhere around the globe. All the main continents, Europe, Asia, North America, Africa, South America, and Australasia. We got survey responses from everywhere. And this basically gives you an indication of all the different countries and regions that answered. The top 5 responses were from India, United States, Australia, Canada, and Egypt. And I just wanted to share with you some of the details that we got from the survey. And so 82%, or close to 82%, believe that intraoral scanners are more accurate than traditional casting methods. Why this is very interesting for me is that if you asked that question 5 years ago, it wouldn't be this high. It would be closer to 10%. But these days, it's just accepted and appreciated. This is the future. This is a proven technology that works, and it works very well. Close to 86% or 85.6% use digital impressions with an iOS for fabricating fixed prosthetic appliances. And the most common was a single crown. This is interesting, and it really confirms a lot of the data that we get, is that a single crown is the most commonly used, the most common indication for an intraoral scanner to be used. A single crown. And really, this is why so much training should go into mastering this simple indication, because this is our bread and butter, and this is what you're going to do day in, day out. And this is something that I do day in, day out, every single day in my practice. Here's something that was very interesting to me, and that the main reason for purchasing an intraoral scanner was the number one reason: recommendations by colleagues. And this was, quite significantly more common of a reason than the accuracy of the system or the brand or the price. And I believe this is one of the reasons that Medit has done so well in the past 4 years, is due to this, glowing recommendations from their customers, and that most people really enjoy using their Medit scanner. And lastly, we surveyed all the people that completed the survey about the different types of scanners they use in their practice, and we asked them to rate these scanners. And Medit did very well across the board. The Medit i700 wireless was rated very highly. I700 was rated second, and I600. And this was again a completely objective survey of dentists. We were not sponsored by Medit or any company. This was done through IDD. And anyone who knows about the Institute of Digital Dentistry, which is a company I started, knows one of the fundamental cores of our business is being completely brand agnostic and objective. And this is why our reviews are so popular. So, this was quite interesting data for me to see how popular these scanners are. Now, moving on from that. So what can you actually use a scanner for? Now, most of you will know that a scanner is not just used for fixed appliances. You can actually use a scanner for every single indication in dentistry. Whether it's dentures, crowns, splints, orthodontics, everything. I use a scanner for everything. The only thing that really I need to take an impression for these days is if a patient comes with edentulous ridges and I need to make them some dentures, because still it's key to get a functional impression, and I would take an impression, but I would then scan that same impression. But everything else I'm using a scanner for. I literally don't use impression material in my practice anymore. And you can see how well it works. A lot of anecdotal evidence speaks to the fact that scanners are accurate, but this is a full mouth rehab case that I completed about 3, 4, I think maybe 5 years ago. Time flies these days. And as you can see, every single crown was fitting perfectly, and this was with an impression, a digital impression, not a traditional one. This was using intraoral scanners, and you can just see how accurate everything is. It just works. Here's another case. This is a combination of crowns and bridges and also implant restorations. Again, everything completely impression-free and done using scanners. And with the Medit scanners, I've been using them for many, many years now, since 2019, and I've done everything with the Medit scanners, everything from a single crown to bridges to all on X. Every single thing can be done with these scanners. I was mentioning dentures. If a patient also comes with their own denture and it's a bit loose, an easy way to scan that situation is to use the denture as a pickup impression and then scan the reline that you have just taken and send that to your lab for a new denture. What about full arch implants? A lot of talk goes into full arch implants. Does it work? Does it not work with scanners? What's the story here? Now, obviously, you can scan full arch implants with a scanner. And why I say you can, well, this is a scan of one right here. But I will say, guys, the literature still does not support the use of intraoral scanners for long span restorations on implants. That is still the case. If you want to scan a full arch implant case for a temporary restoration, completely fine. But if you want to go from scan to final restoration, you will either have to use photogrammetry. There's a lot of different special scan bodies that companies are investing in and trying to develop, such as the Osteon kit, which are the scan gauges, which look like battleships. But otherwise, photogrammetry such as PIC or such as the iCam by iMetric 4D needs to be used. If you don't have any of this technology, you can still use a scanner for full arch implants. You just need to use a verification jig. This is an example of photogrammetry, and this is what you see when you look online and you see these dominoes or these golf club shaped looking things, these black and white things that are sticking out of implants. This is photogrammetry. This is what I was mentioning before, the Nexus iOS system by Osteon Medical, a lab in Australia. And they've developed these scan gauges, which they use to help prevent the need for photogrammetry. And a lot of different companies are trying to innovate on this front. I will say, guys, that this is purely for full arch implants. If you are restoring an implant bridge, I have done that many times with a scanner alone, no problem whatsoever. So the benefits of intraoral scanners are endless. Immediate analysis. As soon as you scan it, you can see, you can analyze. The software helps you to determine if you've reduced the occlusal of that preparation enough, and it's easy to repeat if you need to. There's no impression tray disinfection and all this, messing around with impressions and pouring up impressions. Patient comfort in education, and it saves endless time and money. Now, how do you master scanning? Well, simply you practice, and you have to keep practicing. No one is born with a scanner in their hands, guys. I remember my first full arch scan vividly, and it took about 5, 6, 7 minutes just to get one full arch scan. And now I can confidently do it in under 45 seconds. But that's because I've been doing this for literally thousands of hours. I've been scanning so many times it's not funny, and you can get to that point too. You just need to practice. Now, the handy thing about modern scanners is that the learning curve is not like it was before. We hire a lot of graduate dentists, a lot of dentists that have no scanning experience. And I can tell you from watching them and from training them, within 1 month of proper training, they can get very confident with using a scanner. And this is why so much training exists. This is a shameless plug here. I run the Institute of Digital Dentistry. We have endless online courses because I'm based in New Zealand and it's a bit hard from someone in the US to fly over here for training. So we have a whole online curriculum. And for anyone watching this webinar, we have free courses for you. If you scan the QR code, you can access our Fundamentals of Intraoral Scanning online course, which basically explains to you how I do scanning, all the little tips and tricks clinically that you can start applying in your office to get more confident with intraoral scanning. So you can scan that QR code and access that, or even go onto our website and see it there. So the point is, digital dentistry opens up a world of possibilities. It's not just about the scanning, guys. That's really just touching the tip of the iceberg. The point being is that once you get into scanning, you can do all sorts of things. AI, CAD/CAM, printing, milling. There's all sorts of different softwares for patient education that you can't use without a scanner. So you have a scanner, you finally invested, now what? And really the bigger picture is what I was mentioning. CAD/CAM, or computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacture, is the bigger picture of all of this digital dentistry stuff. And this is really how it works. You have your inputs, such as your scanner, your CBCT, your face scanner, which are becoming more and more popular. And these all go into a CAD software, or these days, the Medit apps, such as if you heard Jenny at the start, Medit just released their Clinic CAD app, which is kind of mind-blowing because maybe now we have a real competitor to Exocad and 3Shape. After using these apps, we then have the output, which is your milling machine and your 3D printer. Now, as mentioned, the Medit apps, these are really what makes the Medit scanner so good. And I really think this is what makes the Medit scanner so popular and just so well talked about by all their customers, because you get all these apps for free. It is endless value with these scanners, and they've got all sorts of different apps. They keep innovating with new apps, or you can use CAD/CAM software. The CAD/CAM software, the common ones are 3Shape, Exocad. These are probably the most commonly used CAD/CAM software with Medit. But of course, you have the CEREC software. Now, with CEREC software, you cannot use CEREC chairside with Medit, but you can use in-lab with Medit. Going back to the Medit apps, because really this is what makes Medit so special, and how you access these Medit apps is in the app box in their software. And as you can see, there's just a ton of apps here. And I wanted to go over some of the key ones that really made a change in my practice. But you can see they've done everything from an occlusal analyzer, Medit design, orthodontic simulation, Medit temporary splints, and now we have Clinic CAD. So Model Builder, many people who are interested in digital dentistry will know about Medit Model Builder. This is probably the best model builder on the entire market. There are some good model builders out there. 3Shape does a nice model builder, but it just doesn't have the functionality that Medit has. The other thing is that previous to this model builder, we used to make models using Mesh Mixer, and that was such an annoying process. Now with the Medit model builder, you can literally delegate this to your DA. It's so easy and efficient. Within a few clicks, you can have a model ready, and this can be used for anything you like, such as your thermoform appliances, suck downs, retainers, orthodontic analysis, everything. Then you have the orthodontic simulator. One common misconception about orthodontic simulators is that these are not orthodontic treatment planning tools. These are just a communication tool. And you can scan the patient and then with a simple few clicks, show them some example of what could be possible with orthodontic treatment. Once again, this is not a treatment planning tool like, Invisalign ClinCheck. This is simply a communication tool. And it's just fantastic to have this type of software with your scanner for free. And what's more is that all these software and all these Medit apps are free for anyone. If you have a 3Shape scanner, you can use the Medit model builder. These apps are not locked to the Medit scanners. Then you have Medit Splints. This is quite a popular software to quickly and efficiently make splints for 3D printing. So you can scan the patient within a few clicks, make a splint, export that splint to your 3D printer, and Medit now has a number of integrations. They just announced an integration with SprintRay, and really it's just a very fast, efficient workflow. So you can export that splint, integrate it with your printer, have that printing, and all of this is so simple. Once again, the key is delegation, and you can delegate all of this to your dental assistant or any other support staff. Temporaries was a popular app, and I kind of felt like this was the company testing the waters, or at least starting to develop their Clinic CAD app, because Medit Temporaries released onto the market, and first you had to use a pre-op scan. Then they developed their own library, then they developed their AI, and now you can make a Medit temporary crown as simple as a couple of clicks. You import your scan, excuse me, you import your scan, you delineate your margin line just like Exocad, just like CEREC, and then with an AI and a tooth library, it can make this temporary crown for you. And something that's really critical is same-day dentistry. I feel like that is really where you get the biggest advantage of CAD/CAM and of scanning and digital dentistry. I highly believe that if we can simplify the CAD process, more and more dentists would get into this. And if you haven't watched my first webinar that I did with Medit, I talked about same-day dentistry using Medit scanners, and this was a case I showed. And you can do this predictably in a single visit, and these are lithium disilicate crowns that are milled in a single visit using digital dentistry. And I really think this is where the main advantage of digital dentistry comes, and you simply can't do this with traditional methods. As Jenny mentioned, we now have Medit Clinic CAD, and it's just in an open beta at the moment, but this is a really interesting app that Medit have released. It's basically their foray into full CAD/CAM. They have a scanner, and now with a proper CAD software, I think it's starting to really get interesting in this space. And this app can be downloaded by anyone. It's in the app box, it's for free. And I'll be very curious to see how the company develops this. So there are so many tools in digital dentistry that you have to start with a scanner. If you want to get into 3D printing, you have to have a scanner. If you want to do any form of CAD/CAM, you have to have a scanner. So a lot of the times what stops people from getting into CAD/CAM, as I mentioned, is CAD design. This is the scary part for most dentists. They don't want to be a technician. And that's why I think AI is very interesting. And things like Medit Clinic CAD is going to be very interesting, because if they can make this as simple as a few clicks and lower completely the learning curve, then I think more and more dentists will get into this. But for those of you who don't want to do any CAD/CAM, any CAD design, I will let you know that AI is changing the world, as you can see all around you with ChatGPT, but it's also entering the market in dentistry. You have so many different AI tools like Atomica AI, which does AI designed surgical guides. You have Diagnica with its AI diagnosis of 2D and 3D X-rays. SprintRay in their workflow and in their software has an option to either have designs made by a technician or by AI. And True Abutment, which many of you will know is a very popular company that makes, well, initially it started with, custom abutments and that sort of componentry. Now seems like it's a full-fledged software company because they have AI designs for dentures and all sorts of other things. So the AI space is very exciting and is very interesting. You have other companies like DentBird, and these are kind of competing with all sorts of different companies by offering a solution that this is just a web-based AI dental CAD solution. And like I say, without a scanner, you just can't utilize or access any of this. As I mentioned, Atomica AI, this is what their website looks like. Again, it's a web-based basic AI design solution for implant guides. Now, moving on, 3D printing seems to be the next big thing. A lot of talk and a lot of hype is going to 3D printing, and I wanted to conclude the webinar just talking about 3D printing a little bit and how we use it in my practice. Obviously, a lot of you will know you can print models. So you can print models for all sorts of different things: aligners, suck downs, retainers, sports guards, night guards, all sorts of things. Our lab at IDD Lab also uses printing models to test the fit of restorations, especially for larger cases, full mouth rehabs, implant restorations, that sort of stuff. Really, one of the lowest hanging fruits and the biggest advantages of 3D printing is printing splints, printing night guards. In our practice, this has basically replaced milling splints, especially when using this material. The key thing about printing now, guys, is it's a materials race. Yes, anyone can print a splint, and any printer can be used to print a splint, but not every material is the same. And Key Splint Soft is basically the gold standard in the industry by far. Most splint materials that are printed are far too hard, but Key Splint Soft is fantastic and is what we use for printing our splints. And also dentures. Dentures is a massive thing in 3D printing, and I think it's just going to get better and better. I still, I have a PM7, so I mill Ivotion dentures, but I also 3D print dentures, and I still think, it's quite hard to beat a milled PMMA acrylic denture. It just looks so good. But 3D printing dentures is getting there, and you just can't beat this workflow. This patient came in looking like this, the top picture, and she needed a denture. She was traveling somewhere. Of course, patients always come last minute, and this denture could be printed within 1 week. And if you were pushing it, you could do this within 24 to 48 hours. And these are the sort of workflows that are just mind-blowing, and you can't beat that with analog. The other thing is obviously printing crowns and temporary restorations. Whether or not permanent crown restorations that are printed will ever be, as much hype as they are made to be. So much talk is going on about printing restorations for full crowns that are, permanent, that will last. I still think a resin is a resin, and it is quite hard to beat zirconia or lithium disilicate, but I still think they have their place. And this is an example. This is a full mouth rehab case that I carried out a few months ago. You do your preparation, you scan this, and then you can print these restorations. And these restorations, in my mind, are infinitely better than any direct temporary, such as using Bizacryl or Luxatemp. These just beat direct temporaries in every way and form. For one, all these restorations can be printed with the right printer in about 20 to 30 minutes. Some printers are slower, they may take 40 minutes, but the point being is that if you tried to mill all of these, that would take hours. That's a power of printing, in that printing one restoration or printing 12 is roughly the same time. Maybe it will add another 10-15 minutes, but it's nothing like milling, which basically a restoration takes 30 minutes to mill, and you times that by 12. But a lot of the times, with all the hype, people don't realize how much work goes into printing and processing restorations. There's just a lot of social media showing off and, talking about how good printed restorations are. But a lot of people need to appreciate this is what they look like when they're printed. Oftentimes you have quite large sprues and it's just dripping with resin, and you have to take these restorations and wash them multiple times, at least twice, and brush them and clean out all the excess resin. And then you have to cut every single sprue. Now, thankfully, because resins are, they're resins, it's not like cutting zirconia. These are very easy to cut and polish. But just be aware that, printing restorations, even though it's made to seem like some golden bullet, it really isn't what it's made to be. I think that printing and milling will both have their place in any digital lab and any digital clinic. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. So how do you make it work? It's simple, guys. How do you make digital dentistry work for you? You have to research. You have to buy something. A lot of people just sit on the fence for far too long. Now is the best time to buy a scanner. There's a saying that probably the number one best time to buy a scanner was probably yesterday, and the second best time is today. I think a lot of people just need to get into it. The ship is sailing, and if you're still sitting on the fence, I think you just need to reach out to someone who can help you choose the right scanner for your practice and jump into it. The next thing you need to do is train, appreciate, and accept the fact that, you're not going to be able to just use a scanner proficiently on day one. It's going to take some training. It's going to take some practice. And that's just part of the game. Everyone goes through that learning curve. And how you get better is just practice, practice, practice. When you buy a scanner, scan your DA, scan your reception staff, scan your wife, your husband, whoever. You need to practice. Don't just jump into a patient's mouth with some technology that you've never trained or practiced and then end up in a frustrating clinical situation. The bottom line is dentistry, guys, is changing. Dentistry is changing significantly, and you need to embrace the future. You need to embrace technology, because if not, you are falling behind. And it's crazy to see how much dentistry has changed in the past 5 years, let alone what's going to happen in the next 5 years with all this AI and printing and milling and technology just getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So that's everything for this webinar, guys. I really appreciate you, spending the past 45 or 50 minutes with me. Thank you for your attention. And now I welcome any questions from the audience.
Okay, thank you for the lecture, Ahmad. Everyone might have loved your lecture for today.
My pleasure.
Question number 1. Hi, it's exactly what I've been looking for. I'm still thinking about getting one intraoral scanner. Which one would you recommend for a beginner like me among Medit scanners? Does speed that affect my daily life in the clinic?
So it's a common question that I get almost every single week. Which scanner should I buy? And the person who asked that question asked amongst the Medit scanners. So to me, that's quite a simple thing, because what it really comes down to is your budget. As I mentioned, if the i600 is available in your region, wherever you are, I think you just should forget about the i500. That shouldn't be your choice. The i600 is significantly better, and it's basically the complete successor to the i500. So if budget is, the key thing in your mind when you're investing into a scanner, you want the most economical option, I would suggest the i600. If it's not just about budget and you want the best possible Medit scanner, then you would choose between i700 or i700 wireless. Both work. I like wireless scanners, but I don't think that is my main buying decision. If I had to choose between the two, I don't mind having a wired scanner. The wireless scanner is a little bit heavier, but I do appreciate that some people just love wired technology. It does make the ergonomics a bit easier. You're not dealing with a cord. that you are dealing with batteries. So fundamentally, it just comes down to what you like. If you like wireless technology, get the i700 wireless. If it doesn't matter to you too much, get the i700. And if you're looking for the most cost-effective Medit scanner, get the i600.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Question number 2. Sometimes it's super hard to capture metal. Any tips? Someone told me that Vaseline helps scan metal, but I'm afraid it thickens the metal crown.
Yeah, so look, the metal scanning thing is also something that comes up a lot. And people do talk about scan sprays. They talk about all sorts of things like sandblasting metals to make them rough. Or fundamentally, what you need to understand is the reason why scanning metals can be difficult, especially with shiny metals, is that the scanner is projecting light, either LED or structured light or whatever. At the end of the day, it's light. And if this reflects off very shiny metal and goes into the mirror and into the sensor, it basically overexposes everything. So the sensor inside the scanner can't see what you're trying to scan. That's fundamentally the problem. I personally never use scan sprays. I've scanned a lot of metals, everything from, tie bases to shiny amalgam fillings or alloys from Japan or, partial metal frameworks. And the technique I use is simply angle the scanner in a way that when that light is shining on the metal, it's not all reflecting back into the sensor. It's all about your angulation and your scanning technique. In saying that, the Medit scanners do have a number of software tools that you can use, such as a metal scanning mode, AI mode. So I would utilize those. But if everything fails, you can use a scan spray.
Okay, question number 3. How accurate is scanning than impression taking?
There's been, again, tons of literature on this topic. And look, anecdotally, I don't take impression anymore. Very rarely, except for full dentures, if the patient's completely edentulous. So in my opinion, from my personal experience of using scanners every single day, almost since I've graduated, I don't really need impression material anymore. A scanner is more than accurate than an impression, and in my opinion, it's more accurate because we minimize all this, inaccuracies with mixing stone, mixing plaster, pouring it up, who poured it up, air bubbles. But there has been literature to show. There's a lot of literature these days to show that scanning is clinically acceptable alternative to impression taking, and you should be confident when you're taking your scans that this will work. The key, though, is equally literature has shown that there can be inaccuracies with scanners, but the number one reason is operator error. So you need to know how to use your scanner properly, and you need to know how to use the software.
Okay, question number 4. My friend told me wireless is more hassle. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, look, that's a common sentiment. Wireless scanners are a little bit more hassle. Not really. I mean, the idea that they don't connect well or they lose connection is all, dated knowledge from probably the first ever wireless scanner. These days, the connections are stable. They work well. They're fast. They feel just like the wired counterparts. The only hassle is batteries. Some people really get annoyed when batteries run out and have to constantly be charging batteries. Some people don't mind it. So if you're one of those people that doesn't want to deal with batteries, don't get a wireless scanner. If you're one of those people that likes the idea of not having to have a wire, get a wireless scanner.
That's very clear. Question number 5. I think there are 2 main kinds of intraoral scanner. It's either confocal or optical triangulation. Would you mind telling me which one is more accurate?
There's realistically no difference between the two. So yeah, triangulation or confocal imaging, there's a lot of different scanners that use different technology. Some of the common scanners you'll see, such as PrimeScan, iTero, I believe use triangulation or confocal, one or the other. And basically all the other smaller scanners use the other type. So commonly you will find people arguing about this fact, but The reality is there's been literature to show that they compare scanners, not the hardware or the type of technology, but they just compare scanners. But you can conclude that that applies to the hardware or the type of technology they use. And what the literature has shown is that there's basically very little difference between scanners on the market these days. We're talking about 5, 10, 15, 20 microns difference between the most accurate scanner and the least accurate scanner. So I wouldn't worry too much about these semantics and these, hardware differences. I would worry more about what does the scanner enable you to do in your practice? What does the scanner software enable you to do? The budget, the cost of the scanner. These are much more important questions than triangulation or confocal.
Okay, question number 6. What if I use a scanner? Do I still need to use a cord?
Yes, I hope you do. And I'm assuming that you're talking about the crown preparation. And yes, guys, a scanner is not some magical device. We all got taught in dental school that when we're taking impressions, we should use cord. You need to use proper gingival management techniques. And the same applies for scanners, my friends. You have to use cord, in my opinion, for every single crown preparation. And that's what I do in my practice every single day. I am aware there's super gingival margins and all of these things and conservative crown preps and crown lays. And look, if the soft tissue is far away from your preparation, don't use cord. But for 99% of crown preparations, oftentimes when you break the interproximal contact, there's decay. Oftentimes there's a deep filling, and your preparation will be, at least in the interproximal areas, equi or subgingival. And in those cases, you must use cord. You need to control the tissue. You need to control the bleeding to get an accurate scan. As I mentioned, the number one reason for inaccurate scans is operator error.
Okay, last question. So question number 7. How can I record a patient's multiple bites, such as CO bite and CR bite, so that my lab can see them? Please let me know how to do it.
So there's two main ways. There's a lot of jaw motion tracking devices out there, Mojaw, Zebras. Outside of those devices, there's also software applications and software techniques that you can use. For example, with the Medit software, you can choose different bites to take. And this is all something that you can explore in the Education Academy. So I would suggest that if you're using a Medit scanner, and you want to know how to do this, you do a little bit of training on the occlusion side of the software, because through the software itself, you can capture multiple bites. You can even use the scanner as sort of like a video camera and capture like a video record of the bite, which can be used with the scans. So all of that is possible with the Medit scanners and using the software. And like I say, if you want to go even further than that, I would explore the jaw motion tracking devices that exist on the market. But there are definitely multiple ways of capturing a patient's jaw motion and their bite. And it's just a matter of understanding the software within the Medit platform, within Medit Link, and how to use this.
Okay, that was it.
My pleasure.
So it was a pleasure to have you, Dr. Ahmad.
Thank you so much, Jenny. And as always, it's a huge honor to be invited to these Medit webinars. And once again, thank you everyone who tuned in. It means a lot for you to support my webinar and also to support this webinar series. And I look forward to talking to you next time about the next topic.
Yeah, see you next time. You can watch the previous webinars in our YouTube channel too. Bye-bye.
See you later, guys. Have a good day.